All right, we're going to start video 5 here, backup solutions, transfers, and recovery. And believe it or not, a lot of the work I do is this type of work before I start troubleshooting and fixing, because I like to make sure that all my work is backed up, ready to go, no matter what. And I find that a lot of clients who call me is because they have maybe another technician or Microsoft that's helped them, and they're like, well, this is what they did, and I'm like, where's the backup? And they're like, I don't know. And then I have to go and try to figure it out, and many times there is no backup. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do all the backups that I do. Now we're going to start by backing up. I'm going to take the mouse over here. I'm going to show you how to back up all the different file types first. Okay, so we're going to go to Outlook. Over here, you go to Open and Export, Import, Export, and we're in the wizard. Now in the wizard here, I'm in this every single day, so I know how to work it really fast, but you might want to do some practicing on your own with your own emails first. But let me just cancel here and I'll start over. So in Outlook, you go to File, Open and Export, Import, Export, Export to a file, and then hit Next. And then here, for this set, we're going to only do Outlook data files, okay? Which is the PSTs. And then you go down to Next. So up here, Outlook has like a little file structure for all the email different accounts. I'll let you know that the little flower here, or I call it the flower, is always an Exchange account. And the rest are just proper IMAP within a PST. But let's start with Exchange, okay? So what you want to do is make sure your mouse is up here at the top, include subfolders. Now this is a really handy way to export a full Exchange mailbox out of Outlook. And you can see down here, this is everything it gets. It'll get the calendar, the contacts, everything in between. And then I like this for when I do Office 365 Exchange migrations by hand, because this is a real nice, accurate export. And then you hit Next. And over here, you can hit the Browse button. And this is my Outlook files here. We've been in this before. What I always try to do is name it today's date, which is December 4. Put Full Exchange Backup. I try to use the date and something that's me, because 6 months, not me, but I know I made this file, because 6 months from now, if a client calls me and they've got a different backup, I know which one was mine and when I help them. So I always put the date and what I'm backing up. Then you can hit OK. Now here's your options. Now that we got the exported file location, you can replace duplicates, which I never do. You can allow duplicates, which I really don't like doing, because if they have a bunch, this is a nice way to clean them out. So I usually just hit Do Not Export Duplicates. And the clients sometimes have duplicates. It just clears it out. Then you hit Finish. And then here, almost nobody in the world ever wants a password on their data file. I don't recommend it, because people forget passwords, and you're locked out if you don't remember it. So just hit OK. Now you're going to see the little spinny circle there, okay? Here's a tip for you. Is if you ever see that blue spinny circle, no matter what you're doing, just leave it, because it's thinking, and that's what Outlook in 2013 and 16 does. It just sits and spins and it's thinking, so don't touch it. Now while we have a minute here while it's exporting, I'm going to tell you a few tips. 2010 is very slow at exporting, so if there's a lot of data, like I'm talking a lot, it could take a half hour to an hour to many hours, okay? In 2013 and 16, especially on Windows 10, it happens to go really fast, and it's super nice. So usually, if I'm doing this with a client who's watching, let's say, I might say to them, go get a quick cup of coffee and come back, if I'm needing them for whatever work I'm doing. Normally, like my mailbox is about 1 gig in size, so this is probably going to take, just like a couple minutes, if not even. We're almost done. And I did mine intentionally because I knew I could do it in a video, and I wanted you to see a full export, how it works. But just remember, the more email the client has, the longer it's going to take. Okay, so I did a little TV cooking and decided to end the export a little sooner. But before we did that, I forgot to show you something in Exchange that is new to 2013. So let's go up to your account settings right here. And in the Exchange, before you do an export, you want to make sure that this right here is selected to all. Sometimes the Outlook is set to 12 months. You need to do this first. Slide that to all, then hit next, and then it's going to say you need to close Outlook. But see, mine was already set to it. And that's kind of unfortunate that they do that, because I've done exports before and all of the data wasn't there, and I learned the hard way. So just remember, if you're going to export Exchange to a local PST, to go back up to this slider up here, and this might take extra time because a client might have, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 gigs of data that has to come down. So right here, do that, and then you have to close Outlook. It actually is required, and I'm not going to do it. But I will tell you, if you come down here to the bottom blue bar, it's going to say updating Exchange, and down here when it's all done, it'll say all folders up to date, and then you can do a full export of the Exchange to a PST file. That's a very important tip, and I'm sorry I forgot that in the beginning of the other one. But see, that's how it is with Outlook. There's always something, something else to do. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to export an Imap Ost. And I'm going to show you one thing over here in the folders. A lot of people don't know this, is when you right-click on an Imap account in the folder list here and go to Data File Properties, hit the Advanced button, it pops up a little window here, and this means that it is an OST file. It does not pop up a Windows File Explorer like it would if it had a PST file. This is kind of a little cheat if you're just, running around the folders over there and trying to figure out stuff. But let's go ahead and hit cancel. Cancel. We're going to back up this Lisa at OutlookTraining.biz account, which I know is an IMAP. So let's go up to the top. We're going to go to File, Open and Export, Import Export, Export to a File, Next, Outlook Data File, Next. Now see here, because I was in that folder, it actually picked the folder I had open. What you want to do is go to the top again, include subfolders. It will only export out this email account in this folder list. Hit Next. You can see that it opens up the last file that you had created, and you can hit Browse. And again, December 4, IMAP, and then I usually put in the account or something, Outlook Training, whatever. I'm just going to keep that short. Then hit OK. Do not export duplicates. Hit Finish. There you go. Now this one here, did you see it went so fast it didn't even pop up a window, because there was almost nothing in that mailbox. And it doesn't even do that sometimes. It goes very fast. Well, let's go open up the Windows Explorer, and I'm going to show you what the files look like over here. Okay, here it is. So here is the IMAP one I just did, December 4th. And it's very, very small. And the one I did before that was the December 4th full Exchange backup, and that is about half a gig. When I cut off the video, it still had a bunch of deleted items, and I was like, I just got to get going on this. But anyway, that was where I cut it off. So I have about a gig, so it went pretty quick, but not for the video's sake. Okay, now I want to show you guys something else over here. Look over here in this PC. So a lot of times customers have network shares or an external hard drive or a NAS box or whatever. Network share is common though for a small company. And they're going to have their map drives down here. And as you know, you're also going to have the external hard drive down here as well. What you can do in Outlook, if you're going to export to, follow along here if you can. If you're going to export to those drives, we're going to go, and I'm going to show you it. Here you go. We'll just pick the same one again. When you go to Browse, you can go ahead and pick the server down here, or the external hard drive, or the NAS box, or whatever you're connecting to. I'm going to just give you a tip, though. If you're backing this up and you want to remap it to Outlook later, network sharing is usually fine because it doesn't really break much. But external hard drives, I get a little leery about that, because if someone doesn't have the external hard drive connected, Outlook will break it because it doesn't have something to talk to. So I try to, when I make a backup for somebody, I'm just going to cancel there and go back to my File Explorer. When I go to make a backup for someone, I just take the backup I did, I right-click, copy it, and then go just copy it to the external hard drive or the network share, if that's a backup not connected to Outlook. Hope that makes sense. All right, then a POP account, which is pretty standard. POP is already a PST file that's connected in Outlook in the C drive. So normally, the only time I really do that is when a PST is broken. But let me show you over here again in my list that like this is a regular PST file. And remember the difference between these and an OST is these don't have the little arrows back and forth. So if you were to need to copy these for anything, you know, these are, some of them are connected to Outlook and some of them are not. But you should always go to Outlook first, close Outlook, and then you can go ahead and move any of these files you need. Because Outlook is now detached from the file. And I'm going to tell you that you will get errors if you try to move a PST file that's connected to Outlook. It's like it's talking. So it's like, nope, we won't let you do it. And it gives out an error. But the OST files, if you needed to back them up, here's that Outlook folder I have a shortcut for. And these are connected to Outlook, but through the profile. So just remember that if you go and delete this, it'll break in Outlook. And luckily, OST files can be recreated quickly by just adding the email account in again. But let's say for, you know, sake that you wanted to, you just wanted to back this up just for whatever reason, you can close Outlook, right-click, copy, put it on the external hard drive. But just remember, an OST file, you're never going to be able to import that into Outlook. It's only going to be able to be repaired, and I will show you here how we do that. But it's really dangerous to do that. I would not recommend it. What I recommend is, if you definitely need to get this data out of here, is to try to export it out of Outlook through, we'll get this open, if you can, is through the proper way I showed you earlier, is file, open and export it out through here. If this breaks, we will start using that kernel repair tool because that one's the best one, or the Microsoft free one that's included with the Office install. Okay, so remember I was showing you, I got a little distracted there with the POP. I want to show you the POP backup. So let's say you have a PST file that is just not working and you believe it's corrupted, but it still opens in Outlook. The same way to export it is through the wizard. And we're going to do export. And the data file here. Now down here, we got to go pick one. And we'll just use my stuff one right here. This is just where I keep my personal backup. And I'm not going to expand it because it's my personal stuff, but let's just pretend it was expanded. Include subfolders, hit next. Then over here you can go and make sure you name it with how you remember it. And I've already showed you this a few times now. You would call it stuff backup, let's say. And hit OK. Do not export duplicates. This is maybe a good reason why you'd want to back up a file like this, is because it's full of duplicates. This is the quick little way to get rid of all the, you know, sometimes POP might bring down triplicates of emails. And this is what I do for clients sometimes. I do not export dupes. Hit finish, hit OK. Then that'll start a full export of that POP account. And if the other trick I want to show you here is when you right click on this folder and go to data file properties, the OST files pop up that individual window, but advanced here actually brings up the file name in the Windows File Explorer where it's located. So that's how you know the difference quickly between a PST file and an OST file. All right, so here's just a few more tips about backing up the Outlook files. Is just remember, if you're using like Backblaze or whatever, or Carbonite, just make sure that the app data folder is included in the backup, because this is very important to back these up in case of a crash or something goes wrong. And also make sure, I'm pretty sure I covered this in a past video, is to search the entire C drive for any PST files so the online backup can get it. And I told you guys that people tend to put, I've seen PST files being used right here in the root of C, so make sure those get caught. And the other thing is, I don't recommend clients putting files on Dropbox that they need to use in Outlook on a day-to-day basis, or any kind of cloud sharing. Here's why. Outlook is consider it this way, it's a program that talks to databases, okay? So if it's in Dropbox, I've actually seen this myself happen. I thought it was a great idea. I kept a shared PST file on a Dropbox account, and it kept getting corrupted because one would be open, one would be closed, and it's a database. So eventually I was like, I don't know which one was real, and eventually it broke. So I tell folks that Dropbox to back up a PST file is fine, and the good news is you can go put a PST file in Dropbox and let it sync up to the cloud, and then go to another computer and bring it down. And I happen to use that trick often with my clients because sometimes my remote support tool won't let me transfer a data file, so I just go log into my Dropbox, go upload it, fix it on my side. It's very handy, but just don't put a live PST file in Dropbox with your Outlook because that will probably cause it to break. All right, so now we're going to cover backing up a calendar and contacts to a PST file or to a CSV file, which I actually have been kind of almost starting to do twice now. I'll tell you why here in a minute. But so let's go down here to the calendar. I'm not going to use my work calendar, but I'm going to use just this Outlook.com one I have to show you. And I'm actually just going to go put a fake event on here so we can see it in the export. I'm going to go hit save and close there. Okay, so we have a test here for tomorrow. Now, the reason why I back up people's calendars before I do any work is because calendars are very tricky. People have things hidden and reoccurring events, and they've got notes in there. And you would not believe what I've seen in a calendar event, okay? It's insane. So if someone's like, hey, my calendar's not working, and I go do a bunch of stuff, and let's just say half their calendar just poof goes crazy, I have a backup. So then I can go and retrieve the data that's missing. So I'm going to show you how to back that up. Take the mouse, go up to File, open an export, import export, and we're going to export to a file and hit Next. Generally, the CSV is just fine. Okay, so you don't really need to do both of these. I do sometimes if I feel that this one didn't do a good backup, but it usually does. Then you go to Next. Now, it's already going to pick the calendar that you have selected. I like that about this export wizard. So right here, it's usually checked. And I go to Next. And then over here, well, this actually went to my downloads. That's funny. Well, we're going to go put it where it should be in the Outlook folder. Remember, you got to look for this. And I tell people, watch where those downloads go. Okay. Then we're just going to call this calendar backup December 4th. Or however you do it. I like the date in there because then I remember it was my work done. And that seems to be something that follows me around. I like it. Okay, we're going to hit OK. Hit Next. Then here, I don't really mess with the custom fields with the calendar. Sometimes I do with contacts. And I'll tell you why when we talk about contacts. But anyway, for the most part, you can just hit Finish. It always asks you for dates. Now, here's how I think. If this client has been working in Outlook since 2000, they have calendar entries back to 2000. So it's not going to hurt you to just hit 2000 there. You can always ask the client, how far back does your calendar go? Because if it goes back to 2000, this could be a 1 hour export. And I'm not kidding you, okay? But hey, if you got to back it up, you got to back it up. So sometimes the clients will say, well, just a few years, 5 or 6. But let's just say that for now. Then this... you need to actually go out past 2017. I usually go out 2 years because people have recurring appointments that they want to continue on. And this is really good to know if you're transferring this or if you're exporting this out to transfer to a new computer because people want all their data. They do. All right, so now, because I had nothing in there, it literally, was very quick, but that's not normal. All right, so now you can see we had to change that location, and here's the backup right here. So you can go ahead and open that up. And this is really tiny. I'll try to make this a little bigger. So generally what I do is if I have the clients on the phone, I just have them go look at some of the events here, and it's usually thousands of entries. And if I say, does that look like your calendar? They go, yep, okay, good to go. I've rarely had a calendar export that didn't go right. So for the most part, this works pretty well. I'll close that there. And then I will show you the same thing here with contacts. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the contacts here, and you can see that I don't have any in this account, but I'm going to go put in just one called Apples and Oranges. As you know, it's my favorite fake company. I'm going to tell you folks right now that that contacts can be very, very worrisome for clients that use them, okay? First thing I'm going to show you here is, we'll cover more of this in the contacts video, but these folks sometimes use categories and they use a lot of them. So this is why you got to back up contacts before you start fiddling with people's stuff, because if you're not familiar with contacts, it can be hours and hours of figuring stuff out. And I've been down that road already. So that's why I've learned that before I do any work, I always back everything up like that. So for just the sake of the video here, I'm just going to export this out real quick. Same theory as the calendar, import, export, you run the wizard. Same thing, CSV file. Now the CSV file should bring over all the data. It should bring over the categories, the notes, every single thing. I've yet to see something not get backed up that it should, but again, I'm going to show you the secondary way to back up here in a second, because contacts just get me really nervous, I'll be honest. Okay, so here's contacts there. Next, same thing, just call it contacts, backup, and backup December 4th. God, I can't do anything here. Okay, same thing. This one doesn't have anything, but the map custom fields, I'm going to just show you what it does here in case you've never seen it, but there's some people that have a lot of custom fields with forms and stuff in their Outlook. I'm not even going to touch this in this training because this is advanced. And I'll be honest, most clients that know how to run these fields have already done it before. They're very smart sometimes, more than me. So I just let them do it. If they say, hey, I have a custom field I got to map out, I'm like, okay. Otherwise, I don't even touch this. All right, guys? So we're going to hit cancel. We're going to finish, and you're going to see it. It's just a tiny file again. And this one here, I'll just show you what it looks like right here. And there's apple oranges. And then this follows the template of a contact form from Outlook. So the email's always at the very end, right over here, okay? But usually, this does not fail, like I said, but I'm going to show you the other backup for contacts, so you have it. And the other way is to go to File, Open Export, Export. Here you're going to pick a PST file, okay? Then you hit Next. It's going to grab the contacts here, hit Next. And here you're just going to call it, I would say, PST, so you know it's a PST. Contacts backup December 4th. Just so you know. And then if something happened with the other one, you could have this as a backup. And because this is a PST file, you could actually go to File and your account settings and then go add it over here in the data files. And it would show up over here as a secondary, which I'll just do real quick here. I think I did it. Oh, maybe I didn't. Well, anyway. I don't know if I saved it or not, but anyway, you can add it as a PST file here, and it would show up over here. It would be called the PST one that we made. Okay, so when I'm helping a client transfer their data, I already showed you how to do the PST files. For the OST, you have to set that up fresh. If you want to, remember in the last video we covered this ROM cache. You can go ahead and just take a copy of this right here and put it onto the external hard drive or the flash drive or the NAS or the server, and then you can go put that into a new computer right there. And also the final thing is, and I believe this covers everything, is don't forget the rules I just showed you in the last video as well. Export the rules if they have them, and if they don't worry about it. And otherwise the export should work, but sometimes they don't. Also, just to let you know, I've tried importing export, and the rules sometimes don't work as well. So again, that's another expectation you can learn to train your clients to learn, is sometimes things just don't work with Outlook, and they should. All right, so now I'm going to show you folks a few websites that I use for my repair tools. One here is the nursoft.net website, and I know a lot of techs use lots of different tools over here. You can see on the sidebar all their utilities. The common one is for NK2 Edit. So the easiest way to really find it is just go to Google and type in NK2 Edit, and you'll find it quicker this way. Edit autocomplete files. And what's really nice is when you go down to the very, very, very bottom, there's a lot of version ads and stuff there. What I usually do is just download the full uninstall, And at that point, you can go ahead and get the autocomplete file or the NK2. And I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to train you how to use this tool in this video, but you can go ahead and play around with it and you'll probably figure it out yourself. It's a pretty standard, just simple tool. And I do like using it if I need it. You can see up here that my apple and oranges is there, and this gal up here. That's for the autocomplete that I had open last time, I think. This is not my full one, but this is just one. But if you open it and download it, you can go ahead and use the tools in here to do whatever you need to. I had to play around with it the first time I used it, to be honest with you, and you might have to as well. If the trick I just showed you before, how to do the stream autocomplete copy, does not work for you. But this is a nifty little tool. And I believe also, which I've never used, is this password recovery. One of my tech friends on Facebook told me about this password tool that they can go and get, and it gets all the passwords, which I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not going to train you on it, but I'm going to let you know it's here. Okay, now we're going to look at that kernel, the two tools I use from the kernel company, or the kernel data recovery. This one here, kernel for the kernel for Outlook PST repair. This is good if your Microsoft one that comes with your Office does not work. That one is free from Microsoft. This one here is paid for, and it's a little more robust, and it works pretty good. Now over here, you can download it for the first time, test it, run it, or you can buy it now if you know for sure that it's worked or you did your test and trial. I also believe that if you have a shop where you're going to do a lot of these repairs, that buying a technician license is probably a good idea, because then you can use it over and over and over. And at that, I think you have to have it on just one computer for that to do that. Their other tool up here is the OST to PST Converter. And this is nice for those broken OST files. Remember I was showing you over here, these files over here, you cannot import them into Outlook, so you definitely have to run this with this tool or another tool like Stellar or whatever you choose to use. Microsoft does not give you a free OST extractor tool anymore. So anyway, I was going to show you how it works. So I have a shortcut here already created, and this is just to repair an OST file. Let me try to make this window smaller here for you guys. Here we go. So here is the eval version, okay? Now, generally what it lets you do is you can select a file. We can go to Browse, and I think this is the one I did, the other one that didn't work. Here's a file I made. If I'm doing a repair on a PST file, I always make a copy of it. I never do the repair on the original. So remember over here in my Outlook files is all these originals, but let's say one's really corrupted. You want to make a copy, put it into a folder, so you have just the only one in this copy. And you can go ahead and see that that's a very small one, but we're going to run it for the example of this video here. Okay, so we click on it, hit open, and then hit next, hit finish, and it's going to scan really quickly for this little size one. If you are dealing with a monster like 8 to 10 gigs or 10 to 20 gigs or even 30, I've done them up to 60 gigs before. It can take hours and even overnight, maybe even into the next day. But see here, I think I've bought this version, so it's not going to make me buy it. But if you find all your files over here and the client's like, yes, that's all my data, thank you so much, you can go buy it, and then you have to reinstall the full version and run it again. And that's really similar with Stellar as well. But I'm going to save this. We're going to pick PST file, because I already bought this version. And we're going to go hit next, hit next. And remember, I don't like merging or splitting files, so we're just going to skip that. And then here we're going to go pick the path. And over here, we're going to go to my Outlook. And over here I have that copy folder, okay? I always like having the copies because sometimes you have to rerun this again, and that sucks. Yeah. All right, then we're going to hit finish. And now it's making the backup of what it just extracted, okay? Now this shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I already made this copy right here, and you can see it's made a little 1 next to it and a 2 because I already had 1 in there. But you're going to see that the file size is a lot smaller, and it's smaller by a lot. Sometimes if it's smaller by, a large amount, sometimes the extraction didn't work so well. Sometimes it's the exact amount what it should be, because sometimes this file that you're fixing is corrupted. And if that's got 1000K of junk, then this would be the accurate extraction of the good file. Okay? As you do these, you'll get to know it a little bit better. Then what you need to do is, it's done here. You hit OK, close it up. Yep, you want to close it. Nope, don't want to save it. Then you go over to your Outlook. You go to File, Account Settings, Data Files. You're going to go Add It. And then you go to your copy. And this is the fresh export, or the fresh extraction from the repair tools. You can hit OK. Then you can open it up and show your clients, okay, this is the data that I just repaired. All right. And generally with these kind of jobs, I do them on the client's computer. I don't bring them over to mine unless it's absolutely necessary. And sometimes what might be necessary is I have to, because their computer's out of space, or if sometimes the tools don't work so well, they've got an old computer, who knows. But I also have the clients buy the repair tool if I'm doing it on their machine, and I give them that expectation beforehand. So if I see that I can fix the data and I do the demo, I tell them they have to pay for the product, and it's about $100. If you want to be, I think it's an affiliate program, you can have the client click on the affiliate link that you have, and they might save $25 and, whatever, but to me it's not worth it. I just, have them buy it. That's on their credit card. Then what I do is I get the repair going, and then I take them off the clock, because it can be hours. And then I just kind of watch it in the background, and once it's all done, then I go back to billable work. All right, so those are those three programs, the NurseSoft and the Kernel, OST, and the PST repair is real similar to the OST, except that when you go to search, you would find the OST file that you're having the issue with, and it would convert it to a PST file. All right, folks, that wraps up video 5 here. We're going to be moving on to video 6, which is a little more talking about the two problems I deal with the most for calls. I would say is about probably 40% of my work is IMAP and Gmail.